I love Fridays. It's the beginning of the weekend. Always makes me happy. And I'm super happy and excited to be here talking about Bible bad girls with you all today. The first girls that I'm going to talk to you about, it's a double duo. It's a bad girl and her sidekick. I love that. Is Deborah and Jael. And if you've never read this story in the Bible, it is truly fascinating. Deborah was a judge over Israel, and that is just an amazing fact for that time that she had that job. She was like ruler over Israel. She was a prophet before Israel, the mouthpiece of God before the nation. And of course, Israel, as always, had gotten into trouble and was in captivity again to King, I think his name was King Jabin. So Israel was in captivity, and Deborah was trying to lead the nation. And there was also a commander, I guess, or a general, or probably a warrior, and his name was Barak. So Deborah got a word from the Lord, and she was to tell Barak that he was going to take this commander, Sisera, that he was going to be able to take him captive. And this was going to be a great victory for Israel, okay? This was going to be a great victory, and it was going to help Israel become free. So Deborah goes to Barak, and she's like, okay, you need to gather 10,000 warriors, and you need to go to this mountain, and the Lord is going to deliver Sisera and his army into your hands. So Barak says to her, okay, I'll do this, but I want you to go with me. And so this is what she says to him, and this is just amazing to me. She says, okay, I'll go with you, but the Lord is going to deliver your enemy into the hands of a woman, okay? And so when you first read this story, you think that that means her, okay? But you don't know that God is got something else in the plans. And it's just so exciting. It just amazes me when people think that the Bible is boring and that it doesn't have excitement and intrigue and mystery, and it just amazes me when people think that the Bible is boring. It isn't. The Bible is filled with exciting stories. So I am going to do my makeup as I tell this story. So right now I'm going to prime my face, and all the products that I use, it's pharmacy, and I'm going to prime my face with the VFX Pro Camera Ready Primer, because just like the Bible primes our lives, we need to prime our skin. Did you catch that? So I'm going to prime my skin so that it's ready to take on that foundation, so that my foundation sits well on my skin, okay? And so that it lasts all day. And as soon as I prime, I'm going to get back to the story because I'm excited to tell you this story. So I'm just applying the eye primer. And this primer is great because it also covers imperfections, redness, discoloration, broken capillaries. So it's sort of like a camouflage and a primer. See that? See the redness and the purple color and the blue on this side? When you compare it to the other side, it's camouflaged. Okay, so back to the story. So Deborah goes to Barak and says, gather your men. God's going to deliver Israel. You're going to take Sisera and his army captive. It's going to be a great victory. And he says, you go with me. She says, okay, God's going to deliver Israel, but the victory is going to be in the hands of a woman. So Barak's fine with that. I love that he is so secure as a man that he's like, that's fine. I don't care. Let's go do this. Okay, let me give you a little backstory on this Sisera dude. Okay, he is not a very, very nice man. He's very ruthless toward Israel. For 20 years, he abused them. They were in slavery. This was not a very, very good situation for the people of Israel. And the Lord heard their cries. And so that is when Deborah gets the word from the Lord to tell Barak, take 10,000 men, go to the mountain of Tabor. So Barak, Deborah, and Sisera and his army, they all show up at Mount Tabor for this great battle. And Barak's army of 10,000 men kills Sisera's army. They totally slaughter Sisera's army. And I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Well, anyway, Israel wins the battle, but Sisera escapes. That scrawny scumsucker escapes, okay? So he runs for his life. What I'm using on my brows is I primed my eyes with the eye primer, and then I used the brow pomade in the light color to shape my brows. Now what I'm going to use is concealer just to continue to shape my brow to get that arch that I like. I like my brows shaped with a high arch because it just adds lift to my face. Brows are on, and now I'm ready to do some eye color, but I want to finish the story. So where were we? Okay, Mount Tabor. Everybody met there. Israel met there. They met Sisera there. Israel defeated Sisera's army, right? Sisera ran. He ran like a big chicken, okay? Because he saw that his army was defeated. 10,000 warriors showed up. Barak was on it. Deborah was there. Israel was winning, okay? So Sisera ran to a nearby camp where there's some tents set up, okay? And this is where our heroine, Jael, enters the story. Okay, guys, I'm so excited to share this little trick with you. Pharmacy's matte liquid lipsticks, as soon as they set up on your lips, they're good for all day wear. They dry, but they don't crack, and they're matte, so they last all day long. Well, the neat thing about them is you can wear them on your eyes. You can wear them as eye color, okay? So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna use this color, and I wanna get it correct. This color is Confident, and it is a purple color, lavender color. And I am going to apply this to my eyes and do an eye color for you on my eyes. And I'm gonna do like a purple and gold color for fall, all right? So you just take a little bit of it and put it on your finger. Sisera escaped to the tent of Jael, but what he doesn't realize is Jael is kind of unpredictable. Her name actually means wild mountain goat, and I actually love this about her because he had no idea what he was getting into with this lady. Here he thinks he has fled this horrible scene on the Mount of Tabor. He thinks he's escaped. He has fled to this camp, and if you actually read some commentary about this, I think that he's friendly with this camp. He thinks that these people are his allies, so he thinks he's safe. So he flees to this tent, or welcomes him in. He asks for water. He says he's thirsty. She's like, no worries, I'll give you milk to drink, okay? Wild mountain goat, okay? That's what her name means. And that just reminds me that in all of us, there's a wild mountain goat. In all of us, women, really, you mess with our children, there's a wild mountain goat in us. You know the term mama bear? What about wild mountain goat? You mess with our children, you mess with our husband, you mess with our family, you mess with our parents. There's a wild mountain goat inside of us, ready to come out. You mess with our God, you mess with our country. And I love this about her. She just he had no idea. So she gives him milk, she wraps him up in a blanket, she makes him comfy. It's sort of like a spider in he's like the insect in a spider web. He's in this web, and she's got him all comfy and warm and cozy. I'm going to continue my makeup and tell you the rest here in just a second. So I'm going to use my Stay Matte foundation. here's when the story gets good. So Sisera is all comfy in his blanket. He's had his milk. He's drunk his milk, he's all comfy in his blanket, hiding in his tent. His army was destroyed. He ran away like a big chicken. Okay, ran to a tent. He's with a woman. She's taking care of him, hiding him. He's laying there and he's resting, drinking his milk. She sneaks in. Okay, she's got a hammer and a tent nail. And while he's laying there resting like a big baby with his milk, she takes that hammer and that tent nail and drives it through his head. Bang, 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 bang. Do you remember what Deborah told Barak at the very beginning? She said, God is going to deliver your enemy in the hands of a woman. It was Jael. It was Jael. Isn't it amazing? And it's such an awesome story that God would use a woman as brazen and bold. I cannot even imagine taking a tent nail and driving it through somebody's head. It just always shocks me when I think of that story. Did she have it planned all along? And it says that she drove it so far. She drove it so far that he was nailed to the ground. His head was nailed to the ground. So, but yeah. So the Lord did win. Israel won. The Lord delivered the enemy into the hands of a woman, and the victory was Israel's. It's an amazing story. And now you see what I mean when I refer to these women as bad girls. That takes a level of bad to accomplish. You've got to have some kind of bad skills inside of you to be able to nail someone's head to the ground. You are bad to be able to do that. And you've got some skills to be able to do that. She's definitely a wild mountain goat. Definitely. One of these days, hopefully, we'll get to meet her and talk to her. And I don't know, it says in the commentaries that he was familiar with this camp, so maybe she knew more about him than, what the story tells, than what this account tells. So maybe she really just didn't like him, and she saw her opportunity to take care of him. Maybe she witnessed firsthand his abuse toward Israel. And like I said earlier, nothing brings out the wild mountain goat in us like seeing people that we love abused. And she saw her opportunity to take care of the enemy, and it's just amazing. I love it. So I got my eyes done, I've got my foundation done. Now I'm gonna set my foundation with some translucent powder and perfecting powder. I am oily, so I need that translucent powder on my skin. And what translucent powder does, it actually works to absorb oil all day. So I just love it. Is so super fine, and it sits right on top of your skin. It doesn't get into those fine lines and wrinkles and enhance them, and it just sits there and it absorbs that oil and it helps control the oil all day long. So that is the translucent powder, and I'm just going to sit there and let it bake. This is the perfecting powder, and I'm also going to apply that to my cheeks, my forehead, around my nose, and to my jawline, down my chin. Okay? So I'm just going to let that sit there, and while that's sitting there, I'm going to contour and highlight. Contouring and highlight is my favorite thing because it helps to slim my face down. I've got kind of chubby, I've got, you know, a double chin, some chubby cheeks, so I need help slimming my jawline and enhancing my cheekbones, okay? So I'm just gonna start here right under my cheekbones and just add that contour color and just work it back and forth and blend it back and forth. So now for some highlight. And the chin. Like so. Okay. Now for some cheek color. I'm going to use this color. This is the 3-in-1 face palette, and I'm going to use this color. And I'm going to start up here at the temple and work toward the apple of the cheek. Now that powder has sat there and baked, I want to blend it. And I'm going to blend it with the perfecting powder and a big fluffy brush. So Jael turns the body of Sisera over to Barak, okay? And it just sort of ignites Israel. It's just like, wow, this is a major victory because, you know, Sisera had control over Israel for years and had abused them and just tormented them for years. And the fact that he was dead and he was killed by the hand of a woman, it just ignited Israel. And eventually they were able to overtake their captors. It just led to their freedom. And we finally are empowered when we find our strength, our inner strength. And when we rise up in God, there's no stopping us. There's nothing that can stand in our way. When we realize that God is our superhero, there is nothing that can stand in our way. There's no enemy that can stand against us. There's no sickness that can stop us. There's nothing that can bind our children. There's nothing that can stop our husbands. There is nothing that can defeat us. Yeah, the enemy can come and he can stand at our tent door and try to intimidate us. We have all that we need to fight him. This is a song of victory. This is taken from the Bible. And this is about Jael. She put her left hand to the tent pin and right hand to the hammer. With the hammer, she smote Sisera. She smote his head. Yes, she struck and pierced his temple. He sank, he fell, he lay at her feet. Where he sank, there he fell dead. You know, the enemy is at our feet. He's at our feet dead. This is such a great lesson for all of us. Jesus is the one who has defeated our enemy. So we can look at that battle, we can look at that sickness, we can look at that enemy, and we can say, give it your best shot, that Jesus has already won this for me.